What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dog Waters, and I'm back. I got about 30 minutes to hit this, but I think it's important that we discuss this. You see, the last video we talked about the revival that was going on in the nation and spiritual warfare and how it plays out in the news. And we talked about Donald Trump and his concept and idea that he wasn't going to heaven, like he could earn his way into heaven. And we should all be praying for the president that Jesus visited him personally. And that's going to be my prayer for him, that Jesus himself makes a visit to President Donald Trump. But with that being said, I want you to see something else, that plays out in the news from a warfare perspective. I'm outside for a little while because I got tired of being confined inside. I didn't feel like driving to the office. So I decided to come outside. That's my projector screen back there for I want to be up in the middle of the night and watch TV, projected on the wall, and watch TV. Watch this. So in the past 48 hours, Donald Trump raised the tariffs on China to 100%. And the markets crashed, which they're starting to recover right now. Crypto crashed. Somebody made $80 million on a put, which was awesome for whoever the hell that was. But nonetheless, on a tail end of that, the U.S. calls for the release of 30 leaders of the influential underground Christian church. So you see, again, Christian persecution rising to the forefront as it pertains to world events. And quite frankly, majority of the things that are happening center around the persecution of Christians. The murder of Charlie Kirk was technically a persecution of him as a Christian. The recent judgment that came against Mike Lindell of My Pillow, he's a Christian, outspoken Christian. Alex Jones and his judgment, Christian, very outspoken Christian. And when you start to understand it from this perspective, you see that this is spiritual warfare playing out right in front of you. It's why the speakings of Donald Trump are so disturbing to me, because on one hand, it's disturbing because he should know. But on the other hand, it's actually a sign to me also that he's being led by the Lord, maybe directly, indirectly, some kind of way he's being led directly by the Lord, or led by the Lord. Maybe it's through visions and dreams. Maybe it's through just somebody in the cabinet. Maybe I don't know. That's what doesn't make sense, because he's hitting all the things that should be hit. But in my opinion, that's something that God can do. He chooses the men he wants to deal with, and he uses them. Now, I chose to go to BBC for this article, and then we'll go to Gateway Pundit to look at the rest of it. Let me go over here where I could actually read it. The U.S. called for the release of 30 leaders of China's largest underground church network, who were reportedly detained over the weekend in overnight raids in various cities. So Donald puts a tariff on them, and they go and they take hostages, which are Christian hostages. The leaders include several pastors and Zion Church founder Jim Mingri, who was arrested in the early hours of Saturday after 10 officers searched his home, U.S.-based nonprofit China Aid said. Chinese Communist Party promotes atheism and tightly controls religion. Still, some Christian groups are calling this the most extensive crackdown against the faith in decades. Christians have long been pressured to join only state-sanctioned churches that are led by government-approved pastors and toe the party line. I'm going to stop right there. So communism, when it comes to, and this is the largest communist government in the world, communism tends to lead towards atheism, right? And this is what this article is telling us, that as they are communists, they're atheists. And so when you look at the communist Marxist revolution that's trying to happen in America, you realize that many of those people are atheists, but it goes deeper. Communism is really Satanism in government form. How do you know it's Satanism in government form? Because it wants you to conform to its government. China rewrote the Bible and excluded what they wanted to exclude out of the Bible. So essentially, what we're dealing with across the world, And what we're dealing with in America is a war against Satanism. And that's what it boils down to. Nobody wants to say it that way. These are Satanists. And it's right there in front of you if you pay close enough attention to it. Today, Donald Trump is in Egypt right now. He went over to Israel this morning at 4 a.m. I tried to stay up and watch it. I just couldn't make it to 4 a.m. That 3 a.m., 12 to 3, I prayed to try and make it to 4. I just couldn't make it. My body was like, okay, we drained. But congratulations, President Trump, on getting the hostages freed, getting the deal done with Hamas. But what's crazy? It's easier for the U.S. government to do a deal with Hamas than it is to do with its own Democratic Party to open the federal government. But when you understand that it's Satanism, then you understand why it's this way. So when you understand that we're dealing with Satanism, Satanists. Well, James, you can't say that Hakeem Jeffries is a Satanist. No. I'm not saying Hakeem Jeffries is a Satanist. I'm saying the system that we're dealing with and contending against, the world system, is Satanism. And the dragon is the leader of this. Now, it's funny that that China is personified by a dragon, that China shares a large coastal area. And that the Pharaoh himself was called the great dragon or the serpent. Was he called the serpent or the dragon? One of the two. But if you remember, when God told Moses to go see Pharaoh, he told him, go see him in the morning time as he went towards the water, because the Pharaoh will go to the water and draw powers out of the water. Somebody will say, well, DW, you're talking about the marine kingdom. Yeah. And if you think about it, some of the biggest cities that we contend with in America, outside, the only one is Colorado, but I'm pretty sure there's a river that flows through that area in Colorado where we're having that problem. They're right there on the coast, on the water, California coast, right there on the water. There are kingdoms that we contend against in this nation, and this is what bothers me the most. But I know it's God that's helping him, because I don't think our president knows what he's up against. Even the recent revelations that came out in the news, and I know, guys, I'm not like playing a video. This is going to be a very short video. I'm not playing like anything to distract you. So just stick with me. Even the most recent revelations where Tim Burchett, which is one of the senators of the congressman, came out and he said, hey, there are naval officers in submarines that say they've encountered things moving under the water that were 200 yards long. And then it was like, there's bases underneath the water. Of course there is. There's entire cities underneath the water. It is what it is. And if you ever studied your Bible, you understand this. Matter of fact, I'm going to find someone that explains this. It shouldn't take me a long time to find it. Let's do that, just so you'll understand what we're really contending against. Hold on, I'll be right back. It ain't gonna take me long to find it. Somebody gonna have it. Watch this. Told you it wouldn't take me long to find it. It wouldn't take me long to find it at all. You wanna know why? Because it's what God wants you guys to know about. So, and this guy says it way better than I can. My outside AC unit just kicked on, so I'm gonna go ahead and let him talk, so you won't have to hear that.
Why is it when Elijah locked up the heavens for 3.5 years, the economy collapsed?
Stop.
Because water controls economy. Once water stops flowing, cash stops flowing. Why is it that every coastal city is very, very backward? Why is it that old Calabar cannot be compared with the rest of Calabar? Why is it that this marina is the most backward part, all the way down to Edem, Iyamba streets, all these places, you will still see thatch houses. You will see heavy poverty. You will see warehouses that have scattered and dilapidated. And it's not just Calabar, every marine city, you will see abject poverty. Why? Because there are two parallel cities in every city by the water. There is the city physical, there's the city in the water. And if you were privileged to enter this river here, you will see another city inside this water that is more glorious and more beautiful than Dubai. Sir, the wealth that is inside this city, let me tell you, Calabar is forever the capital of Nigeria and West Africa. Calabar, it is. It's only that the capital city was transferred to the marine. We are still the capital in the spirit realm. And the wealth that is inside this city, brother, Lagos cannot compete with Calabar. Abuja cannot compete with Calabar. Sir, that's why you see, I said it the other day, you will come to the beach. Just here, you will see Mami water. You will see the symbol of Mami water. That's to tell you that this land belongs to the marine kingdom. That's to tell you there is another parallel astral realm inside the water. Sir, you cannot succeed in this city of Calabar except you have been able to have dominion over the water powers. How I wish you would take notes. How I wish you would sit up. Do you know that the car you're supposed to be driving is inside this water? Oh yes. Do you know the house you're supposed to have built and be living in is inside this water? Oh my God. Oh my God. Just as you see Mami water here as a symbol, as an emblem. I travel the world. When I walk down the River Thames in London, I see Mami water statues everywhere. All along the River Thames, you will see marine spirits. Marine spirit doesn't belong to Africa alone. Marine spirit is every city. Go to Dallas, go to all this New York, go there. You will see Mami water statues, and they are more bold than our own. Very huge and very massive. Because every marine coastal community is built from the water. Oh my God. Oh my God. And sir, there are cities. Not only cities, there are cities and there are kingdoms inside this water. There is the marine kingdom, and inside the marine kingdom there are kingdoms. Let me show you something. Ezekiel 27. Give me verse 32. Ezekiel 27:32. And in their wailing they shall take up a lamentation for thee and lament over thee, saying, what city is like Tyrus? Like the destroyed. Where?
In the midst of the sea.
In the midst
of the sea.
Of the sea. Have you ever seen a city in the midst of the sea?
No, sir. No, sir.
Am I talking to people? Yes, sir. Have you ever seen a city in the midst of the sea? That's to tell you this place was not just an ordinary physical city. It's talking about a kingdom, a marine kingdom, a marine city that is found in the midst of the sea. So if you are privileged to travel to a place called Dubai, When you get to Dubai, you will see a city inside Dubai called Atlantis, east of the sea of Dubai. How did they build it? They dredged sand from the midst of the sea and built an artificial island in the midst of the sea called Atlantis. That Atlantis, Dubai, is one of the most glorious places you will ever see on planet Earth. Then Atlantis is the glory of Dubai. Wow. When you get to the Atlantis, you will stand in amazement, flabbergasted. Atlantis is the most majestic phenomena. The whole city is like a palace, full of grandeur and splendor. You will be spellbound and captivated. I have taken my wife there. That Atlantis that they built physically here is a picture of the Atlantis inside the ocean. Because Atlantis is a hidden city that people have not been able to discover except you belong to that kingdom. And so they have brought out from the ocean into the physical. The Atlantis in the sea, they have brought it to Dubai. So there are inhabitants also inside this sea. Give me Revelation chapter 12, verse number 12. Therefore rejoice ye heaven and ye that dwell in them, and woe to the inhabitants. Woe to who? The inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. So the sea has inhabitants. Job chapter 26 verse 5. Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. So inside the waters there are inhabitants thereof. Please touch the person by your side who is pretending to sleep, who is not actually sleeping, and ask him, are you one of them? Oh yes, because they used to come to Prayer City. Oh yes. Oh yes. They can dance when it's time to dance, but when it's time for the word, the inhabitants in the sea.
Had to turn that fan off so y'all won't hear that. He made the point perfectly that I'm trying to make. You see, as the kingdom of God has risen in America, you see it happening all around you. I've been saying this for the longest. When they say free Palestine, which is Philistine, the Philistines, what are they actually saying? Who's the God of those people? That flag that they march up and down the street with. That flag is the flag of Dagon. And so Dagon has been making war with America. Dagon is currently trying to overthrow America. What does that mean? That means the Marine Kingdom is in the process of trying to overthrow America. And so when you look in the news and you see it, it's like free Palestine, free, and it's all these liberal tards. You wonder why they look like weirdos. In fact, they look like inhabitants of another world. They look alien. They behave as if they're alien because there are water spirits that are functioning through them. And those spirits have animated them to go out and fight ICE and fight the police. And that's why they'll have bull rings in their nose and hardware all in their face. And they'll be draped in the flag of another country that they never grew up in. Or they were because they're not citizens of America. They're not spiritual citizens of America. They are spiritual citizens of a different kingdom. We talked about spirit cities. We never talked about spirit kingdoms. We talked about spirit cities. But they are of the marine kingdom. And that is what we are up against. It's wild when you really take a look at it. It's super wild. And so China, the great dragon, rises up and starts to persecute Christians. And immediately, America says, nope, you're going to stop. You're going to let them go. They get hit with tariffs. They attack Christians and take them hostage, so they can have some leverage over America. Out of all the things that China could have taken hostage, why did they choose to take Christians hostage? What do you think is going on in our schools? When they bring all this stuff into our schools for our children, they're taking the children of America hostage, their future hostage, and those bloodlines hostage, trying to capture them and bring them into another kingdom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see y'all on the next video. It's going on 12 noon. I love you guys. I appreciate you. See you soon. Deuces.